Dana flipped through everything with a cool, measured look, then closed the folder. "You really want to do this?" she asked. I nodded. "They broke into my garage, Dana. That was my father's project. Truck. They don't get to touch that." A slow grin crossed her face. "Then let's hit them where it hurts." I didn't have millions sitting around, but I did have a solid credit line from my business, plus a couple of smart investments. And I'd been quietly buying up small rental houses in Rolling Pines over the last few years, planning for retirement. With Dana's help, I started making offers. At first, nobody noticed. A house here, a house there. Some owners were sick of the HOA's rules and gladly sold to me. Others were in foreclosure, and I picked them up for cheap. Within 6 months, I owned 15 houses on the same block that gave me voting power. Then I found out the HOA's reserve fund was in trouble. Turns out Leonard had been paying for all kinds of silly nonsense, branded umbrellas for the pool, an expensive flower bed redesign, even a security guard. They were running out of money. So when the HOA decided to levy a special assessment to rebuild their funds, people lost it. That's when I made my move. I offered to buy even more houses, cash, for any family that wanted out. Within another 3 months, I controlled 23 properties on the block. That was enough to call a vote. Leonard tried to stop me. He sent cease and desist letters, threatened to sue, even had a banner printed up calling me a neighborhood terrorist. I laughed. People were sick of him. At the emergency HOA meeting, I showed up in jeans and a work shirt, hand stained with engine grease. Leonard wore his fancy golf club blazer. He looked like a clown. I stood up in front of everyone and said, "I'm calling a vote to dissolve this HOA. Effective." Immediately, the room went dead silent. Leonard tried to interrupt, but people shouted him down. I'd spent months talking to my new tenants, to neighbors, to old friends. They trusted me, and when the vote came, it was a slaughter, 27-4. The HOA was dead. Leonard looked like a man who'd had the rug yanked out from under him. His precious HOA had been his kingdom, the place where he could boss everyone around, where he could measure people's lawns with a ruler and find them for weeds. Now it was gone. He tried to recover, threatening to sue, but Dana was there, calm and sharp, and shut him down cold. She explained that the dissolution vote was valid, the paperwork was in order, and the state's homeowners' laws were on our side. Leonard sputtered and turned red in the face, but there was nothing he could do. I'd spent nearly a year working on it, and that night, it paid off. Walking out of that meeting, I felt like I could finally breathe. I went home and stood in my garage, where my old F-100 sat patiently waiting. That truck had started this whole war. I wiped my hands on a rag and ran a palm across the dented fender. "Don't worry, old girl," I told it. "We won." In the days after the vote, you could practically feel the mood shift across the block. People came out of their houses, smiling for the first time in months. Kids were riding scooters on the sidewalks again without someone screaming about helmets. It was like the whole street had woken up from a bad dream. Leonard, though, wasn't finished making trouble. A few days later, he showed up at my place with a clipboard and a miserable scowl. "You think you've won, Monroe," he spat. "You've destroyed everything this neighborhood stood for." I leaned on my porch railing, calm as could be. "Leonard," I told him, "all I did was take away your hammer." He clenched his teeth and stormed off. Some of the old board members tried to rally people to recreate the HOA under a new name, but nobody wanted to go back. They'd seen what power could do in the wrong hands. I kept buying up houses here and there, quietly. Folks who were tired of the HOA games wanted to move out, and I was ready to help them. Within 6 more months, I owned over half the entire block. I set up a small neighborhood council, not a homeowners association, just a voluntary group to help coordinate block parties, look out for each other, and keep the playground painted. No fines, no rules about garage colors, no thugs. People loved it. As for me, I finally got to focus on what really mattered that summer. I pulled the F100 back into the center of my garage and got serious. I ordered a new wiring harness, rebuilt the carburetor, and carefully hammered out the dent in the passenger door. Every night I worked on it was another night of peace. No letters in the mailbox, no fines, no fear that strangers would barge in and violate my space. One Saturday afternoon, I took the finished truck for its first drive in 2 years. Dad had helped me buy it back in the day before he died of cancer. I remember the two of us laughing as we bounced down a dirt road, him showing me how to double clutch. As I rolled through the neighborhood, the memory felt alive again. People came out to wave. Kids pointed at the bright blue paint job. A couple of the older guys even gave me a thumbs up. That was the moment I knew I had done the right thing. Leonard, of course, was still trying to stir up trouble. He posted nasty rants online about how I destroyed community standards. But nobody listened.